Cassandra and I'm playing Fastrada.
Fastrada is Pippin's stepmother, and also the queen of the kingdom that they're in. And she is very mischievous and very sexual and sensual, and tries to manipulate people to get what she wants.
How did you find yourself playing this role?
So I auditioned with everyone else. The theater department has sign-ups, so you pick a time slot and you go into the audition room where the director, the choreographer, stage manager, 5 other people in your time slot. So you all go in and then you take turns doing your monologue. Call back for Catherine, which is Pippin's love interest in the show. And I was excited because I love Catherine, and I was fine with tackling that role. But I also, right before auditions, I heard Fastrada's song, and I didn't know much about Pippin. So when I first heard her song, I was like, this is so cool. This role would be so fun to play. But I was like, yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm fine with Catherine. And then for callbacks, I just made sure I was prepared for anything. And I did all the Catherine stuff. I read her lines, did her song. Everyone that was called back danced. And then near the end of the night, they asked me if I could read and sing for Fastrada. And I was like, yep, I got it. I'm good. So I went in there and sang and read the lines with the guy who's actually playing Charlemagne, who is my husband in the show. So we both got the roles. But yeah, that's how I got it.
How did it feel to act and to be picked for a play with such a long history?
So once I became a part of the show and started the process, I realized how much this show has evolved over time, and where it started. We actually got to meet John Rubinstein, who was the original Pippin on Broadway. He came and talked to us, and we got to ask him questions, but talking to him and his experience originating the role and the show and working with Bob Fosse, who choreographed the original show, was incredible. That's when I truly realized how amazing this show is, especially hearing how the story was when he originated it, because it's kind of changed over time with the revival and everything. So yeah, I think it's really cool to be a part of a show that has a lot of history, and some of the greatest choreographers and composers have worked on it. So yeah, it's really cool. The hardest thing was, I think, working as an ensemble. The show is very ensemble heavy. The whole cast. So the premise of Pippin is the whole cast is a traveling troupe or a circus group. It depends on what version you're doing, but they're all a cast, and then they're putting on a show for the audience. So before we're our main roles, we're actually an ensemble together. So creating that dynamic with each other and connecting, I guess it was one of the hardest parts, but it was also one of the most exciting and fun parts to do. Before we even got into choreography and blocking, we had days where we were just bonding with each other, doing games and exercises to connect with each other. So there were some days where it was kind of challenging, and we're like, okay, let's get it back together. Yeah, but I think it was overall one of the most exciting things, even though it was difficult sometimes.
The pandemic happening, how did that affect your production?
So we were about to go into tech, and then we found out school was canceled until mid-April. And then that was the Wednesday that school became canceled. And then that night, right before rehearsal, we found out that our show was officially canceled. So that was really hard. it was like we were still holding on to hope, and then right before we were like, okay, it's over. So we knew it was our last rehearsal. We basically spent the first part of that rehearsal sitting in a circle and just crying with each other. We went around the circle and talked about what the experience was for each of us and like what we were feeling. There were a lot of mixed emotions, like anger, sadness, being grateful for what we did have. This was it is such a special cast. And we all connected very well with each other, and we were like so excited to put it on. So we were just really upset.
We're asking the cast members if they'd like to sing a little bit for us.
Back in my younger days, if things were going wrong, I might sulk, I might pout. Now I've learned if I just pitch in and do what's right, things will always work out. And